Hey there, you're tuning in to LowKey by Oki, our easygoing sessions for hotel professionals where we chat about industry trends, issues, and solutions.
Hello, dear friends, hoteliers who are also friends. We have one of the happiest people in the hotel space here with us today, Thomas from Edwards&Finn. Thank you so much for being here, mate.
Thank you so much for having me. Honestly, I obviously watched the show, but it's so cool to actually be in the room with you and to have spent obviously all day with you. So yeah,
you see the view
awesome.
that the viewers don't get to see.
Honestly, it's for anybody that doesn't get to see that view, it's absolutely gorgeous. But yeah, so no, awesome to be here, mate. Thank you.
Yeah, you too, man. You have a very, very creative mind, and thanks so much for coming by today. It's been really, really cool. For those of you who don't know, Thomas and Tom. Are here today and are basically doing like the Kardashians but hotel tech style, and we'll follow Oki and a couple of other hotel tech companies over the course of a whole year. Mm-hmm. So that's a super cool initiative. But today we're going to talk about something else, something that's been on the minds of hoteliers for like maybe forever, but especially since COVID. And it's funny, like I talked to hoteliers about staff turnover and how big of a deal it is. Many hotels told me even they couldn't even sell all the rooms because they didn't have housekeepers to clean them. Yep. For some reason, I've had less conversations about staff turnover being an issue the past quarter or so. Maybe I'm avoiding the topic, I don't know. But tell me just on a high level, because obviously you are a recruitment specialist. Mm-hmm. You recruit people or professionals within revenue, sales and marketing specifically, but you have your pulse on the rail or your ear on the ground or whatever when it comes to this. So how do you look at overall being? Is it still a problem? Where are we?
Okay, short answer is yes, it is still a problem. But I think hospitality have seen staff turnover and getting staff as a problem for, I'd say, pre-COVID. Yeah. What we saw was a result of a circumstance that nobody would have foreseen. Now, one thing I would say at the moment, though, in the current market that we find ourselves in, is we are seeing less. I'm not saying it's not an issue, but we're seeing less of an issue, which is why it might not be coming up in so many conversations. But that doesn't mean to say that it is not an issue, because it certainly is being spoken about. I'd say in terms of where we're at the moment across operations, we are seeing a stronger workforce within the operations space. So you mentioned, and very rightly so, hotels were not able to open because they didn't have operational staff. When have we ever seen that? Yeah. And it's one of those where we were seeing it was better off for hotels not to be open than to not have their guests experience what would be an awful guest experience, because that would be detrimental to the future of the performance of the hotel. So short answer is yes, we're in a better position. Are we in a good position? I would still question that. And I think there's a lot, and we'll probably come on to this, but there's a lot that hoteliers can do to not only engage with new talent, but be better at retaining that talent. Yeah.
Like I was watching the Joe Rogan pod some time ago, and every day he goes to bed and he has this affirmation video where it's just like, shitty thing happened, good. Other shitty thing happened, good. Because out of every shitty thing, something good happens.
Absolutely.
And so the good thing from this is that it kind of forces the hospitality industry to maybe take better care of their people and find creative new ways on how to retain talent. And I think that's the first thing we want to jump into. So what are you seeing, technical, non-technical, all over the place? Sure. What are some really creative and fun ways that hotels are adopting? And maybe, I don't know, are you speaking just for the listener's sake? Is this mainly with regards to hotels in the UK that you have this knowledge, or where does that come from?
So in the main, absolutely. UK is where our base is set. That doesn't mean to say that we don't have clients and a focus on the international market, because we certainly do. I mean, if anyone just looked at our job board over the last 2 or 3 months, we've had roles all over the place. Okay. What I would say in terms of your question, so what are hoteliers doing more creatively? The one thing I would say, and I've become a bit of a known entity for poking the bear, let's say, okay? So in my opinion, the statement of a hotelier, and I've had it before, we need to get more creative with how we're targeting talent. We need to be more mindful of what they're doing, and we need to change what we're doing. The immediate argument is, why have you not been creative in the past? Why has it taken a global pandemic for you to look at your strategy when it comes to talent acquisition? And that could be said across multiple different areas. But one point that you made that I absolutely loved is COVID drove a necessity for positive change. There is absolutely no question about that whatsoever. And although it was an awful situation, and if you think about it, I work in recruitment within a very niche area of hospitality.
You didn't have a lot of business those years.
Right?
Yeah.
We survived.
Sorry for laughing.
No,
What's
no.
the same for us?
We survived.
Yeah.
But what that drove me to do personally was increase the brand presence.
Yeah.
I believe, and there's a couple of people that are very close to me in my life from a professional perspective and a personal one, they said COVID couldn't have been better for us. Now, that being said on the talent acquisition side, so let's come back to that point. In terms of being more creative, what are people doing? It's actually quite relevant to the hotel strategy when it comes to guest experience. What are your employee experience?
Yeah.
From the moment you're interviewing them all the way through to them starting the job. Where's the company culture in that? What are we doing in terms of being able to provide a very sort of focused approach to our values? What are we saying to our people to say why they should join us rather than why wouldn't they want to join us?
Yeah.
That's been a concept, especially, and again, no offense to anybody listening to this, but in the 5-star luxury market, that connotation of why wouldn't they want to work for us does not work anymore. You have that mindset, you're already losing talent, you're already losing engagement. So they're looking at how they can display their values, what they're looking at in terms of sustainability, what they're looking at in terms of mental health awareness, what they're looking at in terms of actual, I'd say, how their people are being valued. Because that is such a personal thing.
Yeah.
And again, that correlates to the strategy of a hotel, is they are so focused on that that personal approach, that bespoke feeling that a guest will get. There is absolute, and it was a beautiful thing that somebody said at a conference recently. It was at Hosspace, and it was a leader. He was a managing director of a hotel group, and he literally said the same thing. He said, "Why are we not doing the exact same thing we do for our guests?
Yeah, internally
for the people that are driving our business."
Absolutely, yeah.
That's been a really big changing point with a lot of my clients. Is they've been asking, and we do quite a bit of this, but we look at their structure chart. We look at what's missing. Where do we put people? And then they always ask that question of, right, what do we need to be paying, Tom? What do we need to be paying? And yes, that's a major factor in anybody's job search. But then the very immediate next question is, why would they want to join you?
Yeah.
Right? Why would they want to join you as a business? And then we start reeling off of what they do. So we're looking at that mental health awareness. What do we do in terms of mental health? Do we have dedicated people within the business to be able to support people? Because anybody that left the industry during COVID, their experience was awful. So whether they're able to even come back or whether they even want to come back is a completely different situation.
Well, can I just pause you there?
Yeah.
So what does that mean? If we don't have people that are coming back, it means either you take new hotel students that come straight in, or you take people from other industries.
Correct.
So where do they come from typically? And this is specifically then for revenue management and sales and marketing.
Yeah. So there's two parts to this. If we look to the operational staff side, retail and FMCG is an amazing place to get them.
What is FMCG?
Fast-moving products, right? So in terms of the types of people, the reason for that is because you've got people that are engaging generally with people every single day.
Oh.
Customer service is at the start of their day and at the end of their day, from when they start to when they finish. But it's also quite a high-pressure environment, so it's constant. That's exactly what you want from people in hospitality. You want people that can deal with people from the moment they start to the moment they end, and you want people that are able to deal with difficult situations.
Yeah.
And you want them to be able to stay professional. And that is what you get within those environments.
Yeah.
But that also correlates to the commercial end. So if we look at, let me give you a prime example. If we look at revenue management, obviously I'm a bit biased with this, but it's a true example. We were working with a very prestigious 5-star hotel in London. They said, we want somebody who's analytically minded, but we don't, or we're not overly focused on them coming from a hotel. That came from the director of revenue. The talent acquisition manager said, we do want somebody from hotel. So there was a bit of a conflict.
Is the talent acquisition manager a role in the hotel as well?
So they are an internal recruitment person.
Got it.
So they'll be looking for talent across all their different areas. We saw somebody from FMCG.
Yeah.
They were was a BI analyst.
Yeah.
So a data analyst but anyway. And what we were able to do is get them to put that cross-industry experience. All they needed to be good at is analyzing and optimizing data.
Yeah.
And what they were able to do is create reports for these different functions. That was it. The director of revenue was saying, oh my God, they're perfect because they're not looking at our hotel as this prestigious hotel.
Yeah.
They're just looking at the data.
Yeah.
And you know as well as I do, data is absolute. It's king. So what the director of revenue saw was that potential. That person came in at a junior revenue analyst level. Now they are the director of revenue at that hotel.
Oh, that's such a cool story.
Right?
Yeah.
So there is a direct correlation between the capabilities and the skill set of people coming out of other industries, stepping into hospitality, but being arguably even better because they're not coming from other hospitality businesses where bad habits, or let's just say habits, are ingrained. Yeah. But also there's a mindset of, I'm stepping into a prestigious environment. No, you're just stepping into another environment that has amazing guests that you need to give an amazing experience to. Yeah. That's it.
And then you create another fishing pool, right?
Correct.
It was called FMCG. Yeah. All of a sudden you can recruit from there.
Correct. Yeah. So now more than ever, so we've just taken on, this is another true example, just on Friday, we took on a new job for a commercial data analyst to work within another, I'd say relatively large hotel brand. But they specifically said, we don't want them to come from hospitality. Yeah. So we're starting to see a change now in terms of the requirement. Now, again, with regards to the creativity piece, we do need to be focused still on how we're going about finding that talent. There are too many businesses still just putting out another advert, white background, black writing, you should work for us, here's the salary, here's the location. Come on, guys. Let's get creative with it. Let's create campaigns where we're talking about the environment, where we're getting tours of the environment, where we're talking to the leaders and why you should work here. Those are the things where you will get that engagement, you'll get that buy-in. If your video or your campaign is seen while scrolling, people are more likely to stop than they are that's just on any job board. So there is so much creativity and so much possibility, but there's just a lack of action, which is so frustrating because it is and it isn't, because the lack of action means that we get more phone calls. But I would encourage any hotelier listening to this, try something new.
You know, I'm reading a book called Scaling Up. It's amazing. Yeah. And they're saying, why do you throw a party when someone leaves? Throw a party when you onboard someone.
Right.
How cool of an idea is that?
Absolutely.
Flip it around.
Yeah,
And you can do so much like that.
Absolutely. You can celebrate somebody sort of moving on and pastures new and whatever. But you're totally right. Get the team together. Let's celebrate somebody joining the team. Let's welcome them properly. That onboarding is so massively important for the first 3 months of their career, because that is the first. We all say first impressions are so important.
Absolutely.
That onboarding is your first impression. Don't see it as something just as a box ticking exercise that we have to do and then everybody rolls their eyes and says, "Oh, who's going to do it this time?" And that's not what it should be. It's not. So I completely agree with you.
And what we've done, I mean, we are a lot of regards, we're in the same situation as a hotel tech company, and maybe all companies. And frankly, it takes time to shift from an organization that is like maybe less people focused to becoming hyper people focused. You create your employee value proposition, and that you need to iterate that and so on. One thing we started with was we give a pretty big bonus to if someone internally can recruit someone else, because they also know what you're looking for, etc. So there are a lot of interesting things. I wanted to ask, especially in these roles, how have that compensation changed? So you talked about other things. Sure. I was curious because the background to this, I was in Dubai the other week. I was speaking to two revenue managers. One was working for an asset management company, and the other one was working for Hilton. And so I'm going to ask you a question. The asset management revenue manager, what KPI was he getting a bonus on, you think?
So if I take it, we're talking multi-branded. So he's dealing with a multi-branded environment. Yeah. I would probably say it would be total revenue management. If we're looking at,
and then minus the cost. So he was looking at profit.
Oh, okay, fine. Okay, I thought you meant
Actually,
remit of the hotels themselves. Okay, go on.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
See, but he was worried about GoPar was his thing.
Right. Okay.
And then you had the Hilton guy,
Yeah.
and he only cared about RevPar.
Of course. Okay. Yeah. Go on.
So,
Yeah.
so they have the same job effectively.
Yeah.
But they care about wildly different KPIs.
Yes.
Actually, not wildly different, but very different.
Correct. Yeah.
So, like with that in mind, and for your job, how have the incentive scheme, how has that changed over time, has that changed at all?
No.
To attract different people and get different behaviors done.
The only thing that's had to happen as a result of the market continuing to move is, one, the remit of the revenue manager. They're taking on more and more as the role develops. So that role is becoming more and more commercial, which we are seeing so much more of. So they need to be able to understand the inner workings and need to have exposure and experience within sales, marketing, and e-commerce. If you're just doing revenue, you will be pigeonholed and you won't be progressing in the direction that you probably should be in the modern day revenue management role. That being said, what we're seeing is an increase in bonus percentages.
Okay.
So we're definitely seeing an increase there. We've never seen bonuses in the region of 25 to 30%, and now we are. That in itself is coming because we're seeing an increase in salaries as well. So we're starting to see that. So what we're seeing in overall package is an increase. I think there's a lot of hoteliers, a lot of hotel management companies that are starting to realize, hold on, where's this come from? But we've also seen large corporate hotel groups, the largest brands in the world, because we work exclusively with two of them, is their salaries are increasing.
Yeah.
That is a very difficult process to get through, and they've been struggling with it for a very long time, and I'm very happy to say that they have. So I don't think, if we looked at the actual targets, we're looking at, in the main, bedroom. That just is. But what we're seeing, and something that I may touch on in a little while, is that M&E side. But more further on from that is total revenue.
Yeah.
We're seeing a move towards total revenue again.
Yeah.
And that is really exciting because total revenue opens up that opportunity to optimize all areas.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and there is an argument to say everybody in that hotel is a revenue manager. We're all looking to optimize where we are, right? But that is immediate, that transition of a revenue manager's role, if we just focus on that, is a direct correlation as the increase of that salary, the increase of that bonus. Not to mention, I would also say the wider benefits package. There's so many companies that are looking at their wider benefits packages because they're realizing that can I swear on this?
No.
That they're pretty shocking. They're pretty shocking, right?
Yeah.
So we're looking at the overall package rather than just the remuneration, which I think arguably is just as important. Because if we look at the biggest requirement for anybody recruiting right now, the first question is, what's it paying? Second question is, how many days am I at home?
Okay, wow, yeah.
Right?
Flexibility. Yeah.
When has that ever been a question?
Yeah.
Right? Since COVID, every single time without fail, the second question is, what's the hybrid situation?
And what do people want there?
Okay,
well,
so
as much flexibility as possible, I
as
suppose.
much, yeah, of course. Yeah. But what I would say is the hotels have fixed themselves in a situation where it's either 2 days at home, 3 days at the office, or 3 days at home, 2 days at the office.
Sounds fair.
But, well, it absolutely does. I agree. But the preference is always from the candidate side is 2 days in the office, 3 days from home. And there is a real sticking point there now. There's no real movement. If they're not getting that, they'll look elsewhere because they know they'll find it.
Yeah.
And that's why hoteliers are having to be more and more creative, because if we can't offer that, we need to offer more on the bonus, or we need to do this with the benefits package. We need to widen that. So it's an interesting time because there is a competitive nature to the package, which I love.
Yeah, overall, right?
Absolutely.
You have to become a better company, a better employer,
correct,
better package. So then we have a couple of minutes left. What type of people are now being employed? Like you talked about, people from different fishing pools, maybe not necessarily from within the industry. Of course, also good people within the industry. They're getting paid better. They're possibly. Do you think we're looking as a result of this at a longer tenure? And what does the workforce look like 10 years from now?
Sure. Okay.
Based on the dramatic changes that have happened.
My view is always, whenever we start seeing a hike, it's always, where does it end? Because we can't have a situation where it just keeps going up and up and up and up and up. It's just not going to happen. No. So it needs to plateau somewhere. What I would say though is with that comment though, I don't think we're going to plateau in terms of what the revenue manager continues to take on. And I've spoken about this on a number of occasions. So I believe that the more that is being realized from what revenue management is capable of, they're going to continue to add.
And that's also implying the more technology can remove.
That's exactly what I was about. Yeah.
Okay.
So in terms of that, so the role of the revenue manager, but what we're also talking about in the market right now is the capabilities of what tech can now do.
Yeah.
Because I don't need to tell you this, but from the AI, just from an AI perspective, what that's allowing, hoteliers, commercial teams to be able to do. Now, there is an argument, and I know people that will listen to this will say this, is yes, but isn't AI going to make revenue management obsolete? Isn't that advancement in the RMS space going to make revenue managers that obsolete person? Now, there is an analogy that I believe somebody from a very large RMS business said, and I thought it was quite risque, to be honest, to say it, but and somebody repeated it at a conference recently, but they missed out a fundamental bit. And that is if you looked at a room, there is a system, so a revenue management system, that's the computer in the room. Then you've got a dog, then you've got the revenue manager. The revenue manager thinks the dog is theirs. They think, it's here to keep me company. No, the dog is there to guard the revenue management system away from the revenue manager so they don't mess it all up, basically.
Okay.
And I thought that was a pretty bold statement to make. And I countered that with, no matter what happens, and somebody made a good point about this, but we need to be able to break the system sometimes. We need to be able to advance things.
Well, who's the dog in this analogy?
So the dog is literally there just to guard the system. So what this RMS was saying was, our RMS is absolutely fine without interaction from a revenue manager. So just leave it alone.
Oh.
That's what they're saying. They're basically saying, leave it alone, don't touch it. You're now just a system manager. You just need to make sure that it's turned on and don't touch it. So that's why it was such an aggressive analogy, because I just thought, hold on a second.
Yeah.
Take a massive step back. We're nowhere near being able to make that sort of assumption that the revenue manager is there as just a system manager, because as well as I do, we've spoken to so many amazing commercial leaders in that revenue management space. And we know for a fact that they are right. And if we do have something like COVID happen again, it is going to be them that we're going to be relying on. So I think there needs to be a collaborative and sensitive approach to tech, along with the people that are driving the industry as a whole, because tech will never drive an industry. No. What it will do is it will enable us to continue to progress on.
Yeah, nice. As an ending note on that, NH Hotels has a beautiful term for that. They call it bionic revenue management.
I love that.
Where it's people and technology working in harmony, basically.
And what's a better future than that?
Yeah. Cool. Hey, Thomas, wow. Ding dong. Our second part of this, which is a much shorter segment, is basically a part where you, in the heart of Amsterdam, with a beautiful view, and at the end of a great day, we're 5 minutes away from a beer.
I love it.
You can talk about something that you're passionate about and you want to share with our listeners.
There's a couple of things, but I think the one, you and I in a room right now, and we've been doing something today that I'm really excited about. And everybody knows it by now because we've already announced it, but 2024 is going to be a huge year for Edwards&Finn. Everybody knows us for recruitment. There's no doubt about that. We're known for our recruitment, but what we're becoming more and more known for is our thought leadership and our passion to drive change. Yep. Right now, we are in the middle of, and today we had the pleasure of starting with you guys. So we really kicked it off with you guys, which was so exciting and amazing, where we are following and documenting the journey of 5 major tech companies. Now, I'm not going to announce them all just yet, but I will say that LowKey have been the first ones that we started with, and we have 4 others that we're going to be announcing over the coming weeks. The point is we want to lift the curtain of hospitality tech. Find those real individuals, those people that are driving this tech and making our industry what it is today in that tech space. I don't think they're celebrated enough. I don't think they've got the platform, and I don't believe that it's ever been done before. And that for us is a big deal because we're collaborating with some of the serious leaders in this space. And we're going to be having a lot of fun doing it. But the best thing is we're kicking it off at the start of the year, and we're going to follow that journey of new products, new people joining, the exciting space in the development area. So the people that are creating the product itself, these are all things that we've never really been exposed to before. And that's what I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah.
And to have that partnership and that trust from people like yourself, but also the other large tech companies that we're going to be talking to and going to be releasing, it's just so exciting because there's an element of trust, which I love, but there's also an element of collaboration and passion. And we're not looking, I mean, you and I have spoken about this already at length, but we're not looking for the backhanded thing or we're not looking for any insidious sort of objective. It's just, we love the industry. We're passionate about it. This is an area that's not being discussed. Why not bring it to the forefront of people's minds? And follow people like yourself and follow people like your team. And I think I cannot wait for what the next 12 months brings.
When you're back, I'm going to have a third baby. So
no way!
Yeah, that's also something that will happen.
Oh, congratulations.
I just remembered it.
Oh my God. Well, there you go, right? There's so many new beginnings going on.
In 6 months, I'll take the baby. I was just saying, if it's a bit like Kardashians, I hope at LowKey it's a bit less drama than the TV show.
Well, if today's anything to go by, it's been amazing. And one thing I want to just shout out, and we didn't discuss this previously, so for anybody thinking that it has, it's not. Your team are massively passionate, and I was expecting to have to sort of pry some information out of people or to have to sort of coach and all the rest of it. They were all natural, and they were all so proactive in their admiration, but also excitement about what's to come.
Yeah,
and
cool.
That's something that I would say is you should be massively proud of that, because they are an amazing team. They are.
I'm proud every morning I go to work.
We're the happiest. We said this earlier at lunch. We're the happiest guys right now.
Yeah.
Right. We're growing teams. We've got an amazing team around us. We're having the best time. And I've never been happier than I am right now.
I think that's a beautiful spot to end it. Thomas, thank you so much for coming to see us.
Thank you.
And Tom, behind the scenes, thank you too, mate.
Thank you, buddy.
Have a great evening and a flight back. And we'll catch you in a quarter or so.
Thank you so much, Eric. It's been an absolute pleasure, mate.
High five.
All right. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.